You want to turn down the music? Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Newell with System Surveyor. I'd like to welcome you to today's Spotlight webinar featuring Iluminar and how to design Iluminar using System Surveyor. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping items. Please note that we've had a great response to today's webinar, so our participants are placed on mute. But at any time during the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A icon in the Zoom webinar interface, and we'll address all questions at the end of the session. Also, feel free to use the chat feature to say hi, say where you're joining us from. I myself am in Austin, Texas. It's pretty cold here right now, but probably not as cold as some of the other places, so I can't complain. Also, we are recording this webinar, so look for an email from me, usually by the end of the day, which will have the webinar. If you want to rewatch it, share it with a colleague. If you miss anything and need to reference it later, you will have that. And with that, I'll turn it over to our panelists today. We're joined by Brian Karas, Eddie, and Jamel. Welcome, you guys. I'll kick it off to you.
Thank you. Just some quick introductions. I'll let Eddie go first. Go ahead and introduce yourself, just quick background.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here, System Surveyor. My name is Eddie Reynolds. I'm president and CEO of Iluminar, Inc. We're a manufacturer of LED, infrared, and white light illuminators.
Hey there, I'm Brian Karas. I'm a consultant to Iluminar and in the security industry in general, but have been in the past when I was part of various AI manufacturers, we used a lot of Iluminar product and recommended it. So helping Eddie on this webinar as kind of a independent background perspective, if you will.
Awesome. Thank you both. And I'm Jamel. Some of you may have heard from me. I'm the customer success manager here at System Surveyor. So just want to welcome everybody once again, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So today we're just going to do a quick intro of Iluminar and some of their products. Then we'll have a short demo to sort of show how best to use Iluminar within System Surveyor. And then, of course, at the end, we'll always have a Q&A. And of course, we'll talk about how to get Iluminar's free element profiles.
And Brian, Brian, you might be on mute there.
Okay. Actually, I think I'll let Eddie do the Iluminar background and overview for the company.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So Iluminar was founded in 2009. Again, we're a manufacturer of infrared and white light illuminators, LED based. We also deal with license plate recognition products. We can help enhance performance and distance of license plate capture. The benefits of having external light fixtures: it's high efficiency LEDs, so it cuts down the running cost of lights being on 24/7. LEDs have low power consumption. We also offer PoE lights, so not just low voltage. And we have angle flexibility, so therefore you don't have to worry about hotspots in your surveillance systems.
And so before we get into collaborating and how System Surveyor works, Brian, is there anything more that you wanted to cover with Iluminar?
No. I think Eddie hit all the relevant points. Thanks.
Perfect. So just a quick about System Surveyor. It's a great platform for bringing everything all together into one platform. So, whether you're an enterprise or an organization, the system integrator, the manufacturer, the vendor, allows everyone to collaborate on one platform and keep it all in the sort of a one flow system. So that way you don't have to worry about losing any information from emails or anything like that. More information, it's just a collaborative system design platform, helps you visualize and co-design with both your customers, other people you might be working with on the project, all in one place, and just helps you win more jobs. So some of the benefits, we have sales collaboration enablement. It doubles your sales productivity. It's going to increase your profit margins and reduce those implementation times. And so now I'm going to hop over into a demo now, me and Brian, of a sort of test server that we have here. So in this scenario, we have someone who has a few cameras set up both internally but they are having a bit of some issues with some break-ins sort of along their fence line here. As you can see, they have one camera that points out there, but it's just a little dark out there. They don't have any lights in, right? I know that you have there's some Iluminar products that are going to be great there. So go ahead and give us your input on that and sort of talk about that while I drag this icon for the illuminator over to line up with that camera.
Sure, absolutely. So where we find a lot of applications for the product is really, and why I initially became, a customer and advocate of Luminar is you'll find a lot of applications where the video matters, the continuity, the consistency, the quality of the video matters. We're trying to solve real problems, and like this theft and vandalism scenario is a perfect example of that. And quite frequently in these outdoor scenarios, we're not just looking at something that's 20 or 30 feet away from the camera. We're looking hundreds of feet away from the camera. We've done applications out to several hundred feet with the product. So in this case here, usually we're defining cameras and we're defining the field of view based on some specific design criteria. Like if you're using video analytics, your analytics vendor is going to tell you we need so many pixels on target, or we need a scene that's no narrower than X and no wider than Y. So the usual approach is to lay out your cameras based on what you need for pixel density or image quality or whatever. And then, as Eddie mentioned, the Iluminar product line comes in a varying number of horizontal coverage widths, and then basically power levels to hit longer and longer distances. So my usual approach when I've been designing projects is to lay out my cameras first, like you did here, and then find the Iluminar product that most closely matches the camera field of view. And generally speaking, you probably want to make your coverage angle slightly wider than the camera. If you're having to choose between, do I pick product one or product two, or a narrower field of view or wider field of view? So like, yeah, exactly what you're showing here, where the illuminator coverage goes a little bit wider than what that camera's field of view is, and then out to the appropriate length. So this, what I really liked about the System Surveyor tool is using products like this is really, pretty much a requirement for doing a properly designed system, and knowing that you're going to get the coverage from the camera that you want. And then again, overlaying the illuminators on top of that lets you design the system and know up front what are the right products to specify in.
Absolutely. And so now within System Surveyor, what you can do is, now that we have the Iluminar placed and it's overlapping the camera's field of view, much just like Ryan said, got it a little bit wider, we can go into attributes to then pull up what Iluminar provides is element profiles, and you can import those into your System Surveyor. We have videos on our site about how to do that. Of course, our support can also walk you through that as well. But I've input all of the Iluminar element profiles here, Brian. And so I know that since we have sort of a 30-degree field of view for our camera, what would be your recommendation? As you can see, Iluminar has tons of different wide selection for us here. What would be your best recommendation for that specific area that we saw?
Probably depending on exactly how long you're trying to reach and how you've done your system. So you see in the profiles, we have a number of 30-degree horizontal field of view options. So something like that IR623 unit could be a really good choice. It's going to give you probably longer illumination range than what you have specified for the camera there. But when the budget design parameters permit, it's always nice to be able to illuminate beyond just the minimum field of view coverage that you want from your camera. And it's worth mentioning, we have both infrared and white light options, and Eddie may want to expand on some of this, but infrared obviously being invisible or near invisible gives you a very covert appearance. Or if we're wanting to do low light color video or have a more overt security presence showing that things are illuminated, we can also do a white light, a visible light illumination unit.
I'll go ahead and select that IR623, like you said, with the A30. And what the element profile does is it essentially pre-filled all of this information for me. So it's got in the component manufacturer, the component model number. So when I do want to, my client, if I want to send them that bill of materials or anything after this, it has that information in there. So they know exactly what they're getting, and there won't be any surprises there. It also has a link, so we can click on that link. It's going to open up straight to Iluminar. So that way we can go right in there, get all taken care of. Then if we click back, it also is going to pre-fill this sort of functional for us as well. So already will let us know the 12 VDC there, and it filled in that functional node as well. So that way we have that information and we can sort of just move on to that next step in the process, so to speak. But now that we've placed that one, and as you can see, it's got it there, it changes sort of the color of that cone as well. So that way how you know it's taking that element profile. I know that you guys also have some that are great for indoor. And I want to sort of highlight some of those as well. So if we were to sort of place a camera, let's say in this little office area here, and let me place a camera first. Let me just grab a fixed camera so if people can see sort of how easy it's going to be to sort of place these things. We can place it right in that corner. Then we can sort of change the coverage here. Let's say we want it just at sort of this angle here.
Yeah.
So now that we have the camera placed, we can then, once again, we'll place the IR right there. And when we'll go to the coverage, we can make those adjustments. And as you said, you want it always just a little bit wider. Would that be your recommendation?
Yeah, and with indoor, in a lot of ways, it's probably even a little bit easier on the design perspective. So all of the products in the Iluminar product line, because the primary applications are outdoor perimeter protection, critical infrastructure, rugged kind of environments, they're all fully outdoor rated. But of course, there's nothing that prevents you from using them indoors, just like a lot of cameras these days are IP66 and IP67 rated, can be used indoors and outdoors. So where we've seen a lot of applications indoors is there's a big push and a lot of awareness these days for green buildings and things like that, and energy reduction when no one's in the building, to have all the lights turned off and maybe have the air conditioning turned up and things like that. And that's certainly great from a number of perspectives. But while cameras need light to see and to do anything, sometimes if all the lights are off and the camera doesn't have onboard illumination, this happens a lot in indoor scenes, particularly like in lobbies and public areas where you don't always want to have a big overt camera presence. You want to use, maybe a small mini dome kind of a thing. If the lights are off, you're not going to get much video from the camera. And if something happens at night, you're probably just going to have, blobs in your video instead of any kind of evidentiary detail. So we've used the smallest units, like the IR 148. We've used some of the smallest units in indoor applications, and those provide plenty of coverage, particularly in an indoor scenario. You get a lot of light bounce in the room. So for outdoor scenarios, we usually recommend that the illuminator be placed relatively near the camera, usually a little bit above it, looking out over the exact same field of view, so that your illumination cone is basically matching your camera's field of view cone. Indoor, you'll have a little more flexibility with illuminator placement. It might make sense for a lot of reasons to have it right next to the camera, but as long as it's not shining into the camera, of course, you can move it. You can usually move it around the room a little bit if necessary, because you're going to get a lot of IR reflection indoors. And so that way you create that very covert appearance, and you don't have any visible lights viewable from the building outside at night. So the building certainly looks like it's conforming to energy best practices and having all the lights off and things like that. But then again, as Eddie mentioned, with everything being LED based, they're very low power units. So having one of these small units illuminating your lobby or hallways or certain areas where you may feel there's an after hours threat gives you that good balance between keeping a covert appearance, keeping an eco-friendly appearance, but not compromising your video integrity. In the PoE powered units might even be more relevant indoors. In a lot of the outdoor scenarios, we see those 12 volt DC or 24 volt AC powered units. Indoors, especially for shorter runs, PoE is a very common choice for cameras these days. So we have PoE powered units as well. So, you can pull another network cable to wherever you're going to put the indoor illuminator, plug it into your PoE switch, and the illuminator will get power from that, just like a camera.
Perfect. That's perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and select one. Just and I don't know, many of you might have saw while Brian was talking. With System Surveyor, you do have that ability to search your element profiles. So when he mentioned the 148, I was very easily just able to put in that 148, and then it's going to bring me up all of these that are part of that same sort of run there. So I can just go ahead and select one. I know that you said POE, so we can just line it up right with the camera. Boom, I can just select it. It's going to pre-fill that functional for me as well. We have that high POE there. And then you can sort of match it to what your camera is going to be. That way, whoever's going to be doing this install, they will know, okay, they can both run on that same power. And then we can close it. It's much just like it did with the outdoor one. It's got it selected, and it sort of changed that sort of angle for us. So that way, if you're not quite sure, or you might second guess yourself, like sometimes we do, Iluminar has made it to where, and System Surveyor sets it up to where Iluminar put in the exact measurements for those degrees and for those angles. System Surveyor is going to lock that in for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And where we mentioned on the outdoor ones, you might want to overshoot the field of view a little bit again on the indoor ones, and a lot of these environments, because you get a lot of light bounce that helps you. Going a little bit narrower on the field of view is fine, particularly if there's, if it's a budget oriented installation and you don't want to go for the wider field of view one or the longer range one. Usually undershooting it there is going to be more than sufficient.
Perfect. And I know that's going to sort of wrap up the demo session here. But what I wanted to do, I know that we want to talk about where to get the Iluminar catalog so you can import it into your System Surveyor. So I'm just going to show that really quickly here before I hand it back over to Laura. And so I'll just click into this page here. What you'll do is, if you were getting to it from systemsurveyor.com, you just go to systemsurveyor.com. Under partners, you go to available manufacturer catalogs. You scroll down just a little bit, and there, right there, boom, Iluminar. It's then going to take you straight to Iluminar's site, and you'll be able to download IR and the white light product list. You'll click it, and it'll then begin that download for you. So that way, once you have it downloaded, it says download complete, you can go ahead and go into System Surveyor and import those right in. And so show you from Iluminar, under the products, and then, or partners probably. I'll apologize for that. Is it going to be under the products, and we go to product as soon as I can get it to pop up? Product selector.
Yes,
right there.
There you go.
And so I'll switch back to the PowerPoint here.
Great. Thanks, Jamel. Just like he said, I know we have some great questions, so we're going to address those in just one moment. I'd like to bring up the fact that Iluminar works with a lot of our partners and then some. So if you need to address that, but they do, they are partner agnostic, apply to pretty much all cameras. And then you can go to our manufacturer partners, download their catalog there. And with that, you do get a 10% off your first year with System Surveyor. So don't miss out on that special discount. With that, I'll go ahead and jump into some of these questions. Thank you guys. Keep the questions coming in and we'll address those all now. So, Eddie and Brian, what is the difference between the Invisible Series IR illuminators and the Opto Series? Oh my. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the difference between those are the Invisible series are made in the UK, and the Opto series is not made in the UK. So the Opto series is just basically plug and play lights at a lower, more optimize your dollar, versus the Invisible series gives you option to, have the light come on with the relay or telemetry output. You can adjust the sensitivity of the photocell or adjust the light output. So with the Invisible series, you have options to adjust things in the light, where the Opto is just basically a plug and play.
Wonderful. Okay, great. And are the Invisible series and the Opto series both the 850 nanometer frequency?
Yes, so with our products, we have standard is 850 nanometers. So in the part number where you see it says, for instance, we looked at the IR148. If it says a -A on the product, that's an 850 nanometer, which is standard, which is pretty much what you want to use for better performance with your infrared illuminators. The C is a covert, that's 940 nanometers, where you don't see any red glow. And then we also have white light, which are all WL prefixes, which means white light. So white light is a visible light that allows your camera to see in color 24 hours a day.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. What are some of the best applications for the Illuminar products?
A good question. I'll take that one. So the way that I always describe it to our partners and such is, it's anytime the performance really matters. We've seen cameras over the years have gotten better with low light performance or even some amount of onboard illumination, which solves the easy problems, the short range stuff. But when you want to ensure that you have good quality around the clock, well illuminated, evenly illuminated video, that's where we see the greatest applications for the Illuminar product. And it also can help augment if you're using a white light version that can provide much better coverage even than some of the cameras that have onboard white light illumination, and can provide a little bit more of an overt security appearance, just like we've all heard over the years about using floodlights and stuff outdoors to discourage theft and vandalism and things like that. Same thing with the visible light illuminators. I think one of the main opportunities that integrators in the market sometimes miss with the visible product is now you don't have to lose that business or sub it out to a high voltage electrician or another vendor. Even with the PoE powered units, like pretty much literally any integrator that can install IP cameras can handle the illumination side of a lot of these opportunities as well. And it's just, frankly, it's an easy opportunity for them to pick up more easy business by doing not just cameras, but the illumination component as well.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Okay, I think, Jamel, this question's for you. A lot of time when we're on site, we don't have access to Wi-Fi. Do you need Wi-Fi to use System Surveyor?
Great question. So you do not need Wi-Fi to use System Surveyor. You can go in and edit surveys without any connection to the internet or anything like that. But what it is a best practice, since you sort of need Wi-Fi to create that survey, or if you were wanting to do, since we allow you to create surveys from Google Maps, you'd need Wi-Fi to create that before you left for that site if you want to use Google Maps. But if you have a picture of like a floor plan or anything like that, you can create that survey right in the field. And then just remember, when you get back to having internet, you're going to want to import that survey from your app so that way it appears on your desktop.
Great, thank you. Okay, please show the import process again. I know how to download the information from the partners, but I can't remember the import process.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. Let me just get out of this slideshow here really quickly. I'll hop back over into this survey. So once that's done saving here, we can go back to the survey overview, back to the dashboard, and then back to the site. So it's sort of reversing out of the deepest level of System Surveyor. So once you're on this main page, when you sign in the System Surveyor, you want to go to the left-hand side where you can click into your settings. You'll go Manage Teams. Once you're in Manage Teams, this is where, of course, you can see your users and your guests. You'll go to Element Profile, and then you can select whichever element you're wanting to import. So if we were going to do some Illuminar products, we'd hit IR Illuminator, and then we'd hit Import. And once you have imports, you can then, of course, go into Download and select the process, and then hit Open. And then it will then begin loading, and I'll show you. It then starts to spin through. It's just going through, making sure the template is good to go. And then it'll give you this sign here. So since I already had it imported, it's just letting me know 120 profiles have been updated. You can then hit Import, and it'll take a few minutes for it to finish, and then you're good to go.
Great. Okay. Brian and Eddie, this question's for you. Can Illuminar be retrofitted into an existing camera?
Yeah, absolutely. We see a lot of that, and this is where again I think the System Surveyor tool is super helpful. There's a lot of scenarios where integrators have put up cameras and the performance isn't necessarily maybe what they were led to believe from the spec sheets, and now they realize they want to come back after the fact and add some additional illumination to the scene. So being able to map out the cameras and map out their field of view helps you quickly pick the appropriate product. And yeah, we see a lot of retrofit stuff. And again, that's where the PoE powered products in particular can be helpful, because it's low voltage cable, it's cable that the integrators are familiar with, so they can easily pull in an extra cable if there's not one there and add the appropriate illuminator and help get better performance at night.
Wonderful. Great. Jamel, I think this question's for you. Can you build a bill of materials after you've laid out your design?
So you absolutely can. And once again, I'll just hop out of this PowerPoint really quickly. Go right back into System Surveyor. It's just a bit easy, but when you're in your survey that you want to create a bill of materials from, all you'll need to do is go straight into that survey. You'll go to report, and then under the enhanced reports, that's where you can then select bill of materials. And it'll even give you the option to select which system types you're wanting to be on that bill of materials. And then once you have it all set, you can just hit create PDF and it'll give you a PDF of the bill of materials.
Wonderful. Great. Okay. For Illuminar, does the horizontal coverage angle change the illumination distance? Much like camera field of view versus pixels per foot, is this represented in System Surveyor?
Yeah, that's a really good and insightful question. So the products are designed so that the different products, the combination of coverage angle, distance, and whether we're using 850 or 940 nanometer IR, that's all kind of baked into the product design and such, if you will, so that when you use that, you can be assured that you're going to meet the specifications shown by the product. So changing to different product lengths and stuff is going to the product design is going to accommodate all that for you, essentially.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Jamel, do you have to be an admin to load the profiles? I can't see the option.
You do.
Yes.
You do. You need to be an account admin to be able to go in and import those profiles.
Right. Perfect. Okay. And Timothy asks, oh yes, when importing element profiles, is there a way to separate it by MFG, i.e. I want to import both Hanwha and iPro element profiles, but want to only bring up one or the other? I think that would be in the search functionality, right?
Correct. You'll just want to make sure that if you are importing from two separate catalogs, you'll need to combine them into one. So once you download them, combine them into one, then you can import that combined sheet into System Surveyor. And then once you need to find a specific one, you'll just use the search function to find those specific profiles. So if you're looking for Hanwha, you'll type in Hanwha, it'll pull up all of the Hanwha profiles, same way with the reverse.
And we do have some great things on our roadmap coming up in 2023 for all of these to maybe not even have to use spreadsheets anymore and make your life a lot easier. So hopefully we'll see some big updates on that soon. So any last questions, send them on in. We love hearing what you guys have to say or answering your questions. Otherwise, again, don't forget about the 10% discount. And Jamel, if you want to hop to the last slide. Oh yeah, and of course all the available catalogs. And if you want to start a free trial, again, it's free for life, and you can dabble in System Surveyor and reach out to any of us. Eddie, Brian, we're all happy to answer any of your questions. And with that, thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Eddie, Brian, Jamel. Wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity. This was really great.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.